Good afternoon, Lisa Hill here, owner of Trinity Inc. Real Estate Team at Keller Williams Realty, talking with you today about foreclosures, one of my favorite topics. And right now the market is hot, so what we're seeing a lot of is equity foreclosures. And a lot of you are thinking, what the heck is equity foreclosure? Now, the past few years we've seen a lot of short sales, which is people purchasing the properties. They purchased back in during the boom at the height of the market, 2004, 5, 6. And could no longer keep up with their payments. Property values, decreased. Loan amounts stayed the same. A lot of adjustable rate mortgages increased, and people couldn't make their payments. So we had this huge influx of short sales. Well, short sales are pretty much non-existent now. We see a few here and there, but the overall market is equity sales or normal sales. And what we're seeing a lot of is the normal foreclosures or equity foreclosures, which is defaulting on the property. And typically what it is just life happens. People can't make the payment, death of a family member, an illness, loss of a job. Things happen where people can't make their payments, and we're seeing these an influx of the normal foreclosures, if you will. We saw a lot of them before, but they were fell into the category of the short sale or the REO or the bank-owned type property. So what we're seeing now are people who do have equity losing their house to foreclosure, which is the worst kind, and I hate to see that, because you work so hard for your equity and invested in the American dream, too hard to let the bank take that back. So I want to go over, I think one of the confusing things is the timeline of it. So I want to go over that for those of you who might be facing that. Now, the first part of it is the first document or instrument that's filed is a notice of default. Okay, so an NOD will be filed. What they do when you're 90 days past due, they'll post notice on your door or at the residence of the property that's in foreclosure, and then they'll file at the county recorder's office and it becomes public record. So notice of default is the first step in the foreclosure. So once that's filed, you're officially in foreclosure. So NOD is the first instrument that's filed 90 days past due. So during that time period, you can still bring it current. They give you an amount to bring it current, and there aren't any attorney's fees added on just yet. Okay, so you have that amount. They say bring it current by X date. You have it, contact them. You can work on a loan modification. What I've seen is the banks will agree to do a loan modification, but they'll still file the notice of default, and they'll still keep you in foreclosure. So they won't file a rescission of notice of default. So if you're working on a loan modification with your bank, and they say that you're not in foreclosure, ask for a rescission of notice of default. That means you're no longer in foreclosure. If you don't get that, you're still in foreclosure. The banks will do that because they'll say, okay, here's the terms of the modification. As long as you do that, then you're okay. We won't take your property. They'll still keep the notice of default file so they don't have to start the clock over. So if you default, then they'll file the notice of trustee sale and sell your property at auction. So if you're in default, working on a modification, get the notice of default notice of rescission of default. Okay, notice of rescission. That way it takes you out of foreclosure. Because if not, you're still in foreclosure. Clock's still ticking. You can file that other notice, and then you're going to auction. So which brings us to the second part of it, which is you file the notice of default, you're still behind on the payments, haven't brought anything current, haven't done a loan modification. Next step is notice of trustee sale. That's where attorney's fees get added on, and then they will schedule an auction date. So you actually have an auction date that your property will be going to sale. So notice of trustee sales, now attorney's fees, 10 grand extra, and you have a date. So we're like 30 days out from property going to auction. And this is the time typically I get clients contact me to sell the property when we're in the notice of trustee sale. We can still do it and get a postponement, and we're pretty successful doing it, but the earlier the better. So if I get contacted when just the NOD's filed, we have a lot more time than if a notice of trustee sales filed. But you can still get out of foreclosure when that's been filed. It's just giving us the date and saying we're going to auction on this date. So notice of trustee sale is filed, and then they'll sell your property in 30 days. So the bank will give you the notice of default, notice of trustee sale, then the property will go to auction. Auction, they can give a bid amount. A third party is open to bid on it. If nobody bids, the bank can either set up another auction date, a sale date. We see a lot of that, or they can take the property back. I've seen it. There's no rhyme or reason down at the auction. seen properties that go up the first time to auction, they're taken. I've seen other properties that have sat on and gone to auction for years and nothing happened. So you don't want to gamble with it because you never know. There's no guarantees. The banks have their own motive for taking certain properties back and leaving others. Whatever reason, you don't want to risk it. So if your property is going to trustee sale, you need to be proactive. If you can't get a loan modification and you don't want to keep the property, you need to sell the property. Contact a realtor, get it on the market, and get it sold. Don't take that money. Don't give it back to the bank. So after that, if they take your property and your property forecloses, you don't get any of that equity back. It's done, belongs to the bank, and what they'll do is they'll give you a rep from the bank will come out and they'll give you a notice to vacate and maybe cash for keys. Some of them still will do that. Then you have to get out. You take your property, take your equity. So main thing is to just be proactive. If you know that you're behind on the payment and you're going to sell, and I've seen so many success stories where people sell, rent for a couple years, and purchase again. So it seems like the end of the world, but it's not. You can still get back into home ownership again, even after having lates. Take your money, put it aside for a down payment in the future, rent for a couple years, get on your feet, do whatever you need to do to get back into home ownership, but whatever you do, don't delay. Don't let the bank take the property back. So if you have any questions, if you're on my website, you can go to the Contact Us page, tab at the top, fill in your info, fill in your house. I'd be happy to give you an analysis and tell you what you think you would net, what you get in your pocket after selling. We can do quick sales where we 10 days cash in and out, or we can put it on the market. Market's pretty hot right now. Most of my clients are doing that. We put it on the market, see what happens, and get an offer. But nonetheless, don't delay. Be sure to be proactive. Loan modification or sell the property. Don't let the bank take the property back. Thanks.